All right, brother. Welcome to the campfire.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
I'm grateful for you taking the time to join me here and have a nice little conversation. Let's start by talking a little bit about your background.
hmm Yeah, so I've been in the fitness and health industry for 30 years. I started in college, have a degree in exercise science. I was a strength conditioning coach at our university. Been a personal trainer for online and in person since that time. I've worked with every type of body from Olympians, professional athletes to individuals with amputations and spinal cord injuries. Studied holistic nutrition. I started doing that in 2004 and then got into mindset and trauma release and upgrading language and meditation in 2015 with my work with the adaptive population, injured veterans, civilians, again, not suffering from, but who have experienced amputation, spinal cord injuries, et cetera. So, that's what I've done a bulk of my life. And then about a year and a half ago, I was in Dallas for 22 years, moved to Colorado to run a company called Brute Force Training, where we're the original eight handle sandbag company. So teaching people the benefits and need to train with dead weight, odd objects, whether you're training for an event or you're just trying to be a better human being, training with this stuff is key. So I run this company and then I also do men's leadership. I help grown men who have been successful in business but have neglected themselves, their bodies, their minds, their relationships, create balance with all of that. Because, man, you know as well as I do, if your body feels good and you feel good in your body and you feel good and confident with looking at yourself in the mirror, not physically, but just looking at yourself in the eyes and going, yeah, you're doing it, then everything else starts to fall into place. So that's a little bit about me.
That's actually a lot that I like to get into is the mindset aspect, how to build a stronger mindset.
Yeah.
I do it obviously through getting out here in the wilderness and taking people on hikes and teaching them that these skills that I teach that you pick up out there in order to survive, they build that self worth and that self value and open up the door to that mindset. But it's all about looking at the perspective of where you are in life, being honest with yourself. You talked
hmm
about finding success in business, but at the cost of neglecting every other aspect of your life. And
hmm
you hit a moment where all of a sudden you're looking back and you're regretting what happened. You're regretting that you let all that go. So you start to blame yourself, and then you even turn into a self-reflective victim at times. And those are some of the hardest gaps to get out of, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And you nailed it with nature. My wife and I both, and even our company with Brute Force, our sandbag company, our entire kind of purpose is, the world is your gym. Like get outside. You can take this sandbag or you can take anything outside and go train. But with regard to mindset, there's been multiple research done that shows if you get outside in nature, or even if you just, if you can't get outside in nature, you're locked in four walls of a building. Even if you look at a picture of the forest on your phone, that immediately down regulates your nervous system and allows you to calm down, to process information, to it improves cognitive function. So, nature is life. We base everything we do off of nature. We base a lot of what we do with just our live and our coaching off of the elements of air, water, wind, and fire, and how that relates to everything and every aspect. Man, just getting outside and being present with where you are, putting down the devices, putting down the to-do list and all that stuff, and literally just being outside in nature has such a healing, calming effect on every human because that's where we're designed to be. We're not designed to be inside.
You talked about the elements, though, earth, wind, fire, and we're sitting here in front of a nice campfire that I've had going since I got up this morning, and
Hmm.
thinking about the ritual practice of it. A lot of my perception of building a nice fire revolves around the old Native American aspect of fire keeping
Hmm.
and the ritual behind that. There's a way to purify yourself and bring yourself into the moment. And to me, it's a beautiful exercise that we all do in one way or another. We're just not aware of it.
Absolutely. Oh, for sure. It's interesting. We just did a traditional Lakota sweat lodge this past weekend here in Colorado, out in the middle of the mountains. And it was beautiful because in the middle of it, there was a thunderstorm going on the whole time. So you were literally in the elements, in the keepers of the fire and the tradition and the way that the elders spoke about the fire and the wind and all of the elements. It's just there's a beautiful process to it. And if we could just calm down and slow ourselves down a little bit and do something like tend the fire. What's that a metaphor for? It could be a metaphor for anything, man. Like I hear people say, get your house in order, tend to your fire. What do you need? And I was actually, I was actually with a friend a few years ago, and we were camping, and I was looking at the fire that we were standing around, and I said, like this is like us, like that fire that's right in front of you right now is like the human spirit. It's cool. We're young. We have a new job. We have these things going on. It's a relationship. It's whatever. And the fire's stoked. It's burning. There are flames. But if you don't take anything out, if you don't add another log to that fire, it's going to start fading away. It's going to start you. So you have to add new challenges. A new challenge is a new log. And what a lot of what I do is teach people around about the importance and need of breath work. The breath is the anchor of everything we do. And just like the fire, you put a new log on it, or if you just leave those logs just the way you have them right now, and that fire starts to smolder. If you just go to it a little bit closer, take a few breaths, obviously without inhaling smoke, and you and you breathe air into that fire, that's going to reignite those coals. That's going to reignite the flame that's literally inside of you. So utilizing, tending of the fire physically and emotionally and mentally, that is what keeps us moving. That's what keeps us evolving as humans. But we don't do that. We tend to get complacent. You get your job, the family, the car, the house, all the stuff, and then you're like, well, I guess I'm here, but you're not. You've never arrived at this place. So my way of thinking about life and what I teach people is you've got to constantly be stoking your fire. You've got to constantly be adding log of mental fortitude, of education, of understanding, of anything. Find out where your gaps are. What are your weak points, and then add a log to that fire.
And it's a beautiful metaphor for every aspect of life, because when you think about attending to the fire, it's about keeping it in control. So you're
Hmm.
essentially you're training yourself to really honor the idea of self-control, because this thing can easily get out of control. You throw too many logs on there and you're gonna have a problem. When it's
Hmm.
small and it's present, there's so much symbolism within that that not only gives you the opportunity to connect with the living world around you, but most importantly within that mindset
Hmm.
arena, it gives you the opportunity to connect with yourself.
Hmm.
And that's where, going around and studying with fire keepers from Native American tribes and learning how to adapt it into a way that fits not only what I do for myself, but for the service that I offer other people. It really brings you together. There's an opportunity for growth through practice. There's the opportunity for storytelling to bring not only build connections with people, which in
Hmm.
the professional world that's fundamental, but it also gives you the opportunity to really have meaning behind those connections. And you can even take that outside of being gathered around a fire and start applying it more comfortably into the day-to-day 9 to 5 work week, everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, as you were talking about that, I was thinking too. I'm sure a lot of your listeners enjoy the show Alone, or you think about traditional fire keepers, man, and you nailed it. You don't want this big blazing inferno in front of you. Number one, it's going to burn out, and you're not going to have any wood. But if you look at the survivalists, you look at those things. It's just tending of something small, and it's continuing that thing. It's like anything we want to do in life. It's about keeping it consistent over time. It's about doing the little things on a daily basis. And again, the fire is a beautiful metaphor for that. You don't want to stack too much shit on top of your plate because you'll burn up and it'll burn out and you will burn out. But if you're just adding a log here, adding a log there, and you're tending to it, there's such a correlation to that physical thing with all aspects of our life and how we see and the opportunities that we get to do this thing. Like you tending to a fire all day, a lot of people or most people would think that or see that and go, oh man, that must be a hard job. You have to do that all day. That sucks. But no, this is something I get to do. What I teach with mindset is a big thing, especially when I worked with for 8 years working with injured veterans and civilians, people with amputations, but primarily the individuals that were in wheelchairs because of spinal cord injuries. Like they would come in and they'd say, well, the doctor said I'll never walk again. And our thought process is, why not? Let's give it a shot. What can you do? So let's focus on the cans versus the can'ts and helping these individuals with reframing their language through breath as the anchor to get their nervous system regulated and saying, okay, what can you do today? And working on that. And we've been able to help
See, I
multiple
love
people.
that. And I was going to stop you there because I love that metaphor right there and what we're talking about with this. And it makes me think about the idea of why throughout their traditions, sacred fires were kept so small.
Mm,
It was based out of fear. And when you talk about vocabulary, that word fear is one of the
mm,
biggest hangups within mindset. So
yeah.
you're getting, because they continue to press on and they did it anyway, they just brought it down to a smaller scale. So
Hmm.
it's a representation of doing that because the fear comes out of the big, gigantic picture.
Yeah.
But when you bring it down to that small little increment like this tiny little fire, you see the beauty in the moment, you see the beauty in the challenge.
Mm,
And it to me, it really makes you aware of that vocabulary that you're using at the time and how you can expand it by
mm.
dissecting what the meaning of each word and how you utilize it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And fear is, you nailed it too. So many people are afraid of fear, but fear and stress are both, those are the gatekeepers to success. You will never find out who you truly are until you're in a very fearful state of being, or you're in a stressed out spot, and you have two choices. You either can or you can't. You do or you do not, like Yoda said, but it's literally the truth. Like that's we've been able to help multiple people walk that have been in wheelchairs for over a decade. And it's literally going, I'm afraid to fall. Okay, well, let's work on not falling then. And also let's work on falling, because if you're afraid to fall and you never learn how to do that, when we get you up out of this chair and then if you're like, I don't want to fall, well, you're going to do everything to not fall. Versus if I teach you to fall and you lean into the fear of that and you lean into the stress of that, that gives you the opportunity to learn how to do it right. And then you could apply that to everything in life. So instead of running away from fear, use fear as the catalyst for you to propel yourself to where you want to be and where you want to go. And are you going to fail? Probably. Yeah, you will. And that failure is also just another opportunity. It's just another step. So what I teach people fundamentally is, do not run from fear. Do not run from the stress. And actually, I want you to seek it. What scares you? Okay, let's figure it out. And we don't have to understand why, but we know it scares you. Cool. Let's create a solution around that and use it.
It's that fear, though. That word fear and failure, they go
Hmm.
together and they stop us so much. And we look at different things within the world that have succeeded, and we almost form this like hatred or jealousy toward those things,
Yeah.
forgetting about the fact that we can learn from them. The wolf is a very, very good example of that. We all think that he's just a bloodthirsty killer, but the reality is, failure and success is life and death for him.
Hmm.
There's no context that in our world we really truly face that. But he's taken those things, and out of the failures, when he starved, he's had to push himself harder. So he's had to hone his skills a little bit more to taste victory and get a meal. Then he does it again and he does it again. And I don't know, from a lot of what I've encountered, it seems like people look down at the victories that become consistent because fear is holding them back from achieving it too. So it seems as if it's almost not something that that individual is able to acquire because they're putting the blinders of the vocabulary upon themselves.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, everyone wants a success, but no one is willing to go into the depths of, again, the fear, the challenges, and the failures. But that's where you have to go. You're right. Like if you look at a wolf pack, if you look at a pride of lions, you could look at any pack of wild animal. They fail more than they succeed. And they learn how to navigate. They learn how to do these things out of the fear of failure. But until they fail, until you're faced and confronted with the fear, you're really never going to find out who you are. That's where you find out who shows up in those moments. And the individuals that avoid that, they're never going to have the opportunity to see what they're truly made of. And our job, my job, is simply to guide people into that space when they're ready. And when I was with the foundation, it was a bit different because we didn't really force people to do it, but they knew they were there to work, and they knew they need to work on those fears. But it's no different than, you don't have to be missing a leg or in a wheelchair. And you could be afraid to get up in front of people and speak, to your team in a meeting. Okay, well, what's the outcome of that? What are you wanting to accomplish? I don't want to mess up. Well, cool. No one knows what the hell you're going to say. I learned that
Right.
right before I first started doing public speaking. The guy was like, "Look, I got on a flight before I came here one time and literally lost my entire drive. So the entire speech was made up." And he's like, "The beautiful thing is, I'm standing up here in front of 1,500 of you. None of you have a clue as to what I'm going to say. So I can just talk about whatever. But as long as it lands, cool." So with people, you like, man, the fear of public speaking is almost is scary to most people as dying. And I've known people that literally freeze when they get up in front of a group of 10 people because they don't want to mess up. Like, well, don't you're gonna mess up. Everybody messes up. And once you allow yourself to be a human and not strive to be perfect, because we're all perfectly imperfect, then man, that's when you could just let things flow, just have a conversation like you and I are having right now. There's no script, we're not going off anything. We're just two guys talking about some cool stuff that can help people out. And when you allow, like, oh, I don't want to mess up on this podcast, who cares? If you mess up, that just shows people that you're a human.
Well, not only that, but then there's the idea of post production editing and all those complex things to make us both sound really good and everything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
Exactly.
it's funny that you go there with it because I'm coming from a background where social anxiety and the
Mm,
fear of, just interaction, period,
yeah.
ruled my life. And just out of understanding that within the fear, the growth happens, and a willingness to open up my heart and my mind to take that journey down the trail has led me to where I'm at today. And that's something that I love celebrating with people because it's something all of us can do. As long as you have the intention, it doesn't matter how many times you fall on your face, you're able to pick yourself back up. And as you pick yourself back up, you flex the muscles that are going to help you reach that successful point that you're looking to find to navigate
Hmm.
your way to. And it's funny because for me, it's a story that I've shared numerous times about how I hit that aha moment, and it came during a blizzard with single degree temperatures on the peak of the rut, the deer breeding season. And this new deer come through, and I never take a deer that I've never seen before. So I watched him over and over again, and I thought about, dude, this is stupid. I'm a hunter. Why am I not shooting this guy?
Hmm.
And I let it sit, and I thought about where I was at in life, all that social anxiety, all that just fear of communication, and I thought about what he was out there doing. Is It's the peak of his job essentially to further his species, and he's making all kinds of mistakes because of it. But in the back of his head, he knows that if something goes wrong, I've got an out, I've got an exit, I've got skills and abilities to save my life. So he trusts in himself. And that's where a lot of these aha moments, or the ability to climb up those mountains and fight the struggle and adversity of it, really take hold.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And nature is the perfect canvas for that. Like, you're out in the middle of the snow, it's the winter, it's whatever. That's when you're going to get tested. And that's how we should be tested. And it's literally, just get out and try it. Don't do something, don't kill yourself. Don't do something over the top, but like, get out and test yourself a little bit. Go get lost in the woods for a second, and just be with it and watch how well you can navigate once you just calm down, you breathe, and you allow yourself to be present and start to figure stuff out. the beautiful thing about being outside is that's where we're intended to be. And nature is a beautiful example of fear, of stress, of all those things. Like light, look at the trees behind you. Every year they have to fall, they have to die in order to regrow and evolve. But we're so afraid of that. We're so afraid to allow ourselves that failure point. We're afraid to allow the death of the old because we like to hang on to these patterns, these behaviors. But the next version of you demands that you evolve and demands that part of you goes away. So, just utilizing, I love to go out and just watch trees. It's to me, it's one of nature's most perfect examples of how we should be conducting ourselves in life. Because a tree doesn't care. It flexes. What happens when the wind blows? It flexes and it bows and it bows. Well, if it gets too hard, it snaps and it breaks. And if it does snap and break, there's another limb that grows out of that. So it's an evolution that we've lost touch with. And being, as you study the fire keepers, and I've studied a little bit of the Lakota, the Native Americans, and sit with these elders and listen to how they speak about nature and the elements and being connected with it. We've lost touch with that. And you don't have to, you don't have to go out and, be a primitive survivalist or tend to a fire all day to do it. Man, just go out in the woods, go to a park, sit on a park bench. If you're listening to this and you live in a city, go sit on a bench and just watch and observe. Go look at the tree and watch it blow in the wind without any like any judgment. Just watch it happen.
It's all about the stepping outside of the human story and
Hmm.
embracing the natural order of life, because there's no
Yeah,
room for the stories that we tell ourselves.
fact.
And I think that's actually one of the most beautiful ways of putting it to people, because it makes it easier to go out and do. You know,
Hmm.
a lot of the time it's a case of I want to do this, but then we get caught up in the fear of the unknown, the fear of what ifs.
Hmm.
And when you break it down so simply, you realize that if you're spending time physically doing something to improve yourself physically, you're inevitably completing the circle and doing something that's going to benefit you and help you grow mentally and emotionally, the mindset, the whole nine
Hmm.
yards. So it's all
Hmm.
about bringing that circle to the balance to the circle, really.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, and again, like just get outside, train your physical body. That's the my mentor and good friend named Navy SEAL Commander Mark Devine, who's actually the owner of my company. I was just listening to his latest book Uncommon, and that was one of the first things he talks about. And we agree on this in so many ways of when your physical body is the first thing you take care of. Yes, you take care of your mind, but like get outside, go do squats, go do some lunges, do some push-ups. In when we're in nature, this is what we did. We need to squat, we need to lunge, we need to crawl. So allow yourself to get in touch with that. Get down, get your hands dirty, pick something up, get scratched, build your immune system in the dirt, and allow outside to do its job with you and for you.
That's the fundamental part right there. I remember last year taking my son up his first short little hill. And it was a nice little climb, and at the end we did a little video together to celebrate. And he was so excited, so happy with that, like that childlike excitement. And the last thing that he said, and I cracked up about it, was just get out there and touch some grass. As fun and like excited as that child was, it made so much sense. It's like
Yeah.
if we would step away from the grind
Mm.
long enough just to simply pick up and hold some grass,
Hmm.
there's so much of ourselves that we would unlock and connect. But actually, as we're starting to wind this down, you got to let people know how they can get in touch with you, what you got coming up, all those good things, because I feel like you got a lot of good medicine that you can
Mm.
share with people.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So with regard to training, again, everyone needs to train their body. My company is called Brute Force Training. You can follow us. We're on Instagram at Brute Force Training. Our website is bruteforcetraining.com. If you're looking for anything, if you want to train with that, and the beautiful part about it is it's all sandbags, so it's dead weight, and we need that. If again, whether you're a mother, father, or an outdoor enthusiast, you need to have a core strength. You need the ability to pick up odd, unstable objects. So Brute Force Training is my company. My personal coaching, where I work primarily with men, helping them, like I said, just really get back in touch with who they are physically, mentally, and emotionally. My business is called Hunt and Prosper, and my Instagram handle is hunt_prosper. And it's really, it has nothing to do with hunting. Actually, it was my wife's. When we met, she had the company. It was her name, and she gifted it to me. But it's like, man, if you want something in life, you've got to go hunt for it. You hunt for whatever it is: success, relationships, physical, mental, emotional, nutritional, and then you will prosper. So to follow me in my journey, and if you're looking for any coaching or any advice on that, hunt_prosper. Just shoot me a direct message. And if you're looking for some training stuff, Brute Force Training and bruteforcetraining.com.
Perfect. Mo, it's been great to meet you and have this conversation with you. I look forward to connecting down the line again with you and expanding on these ideas.
My pleasure, Mike. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.